I'm upset. No disrespect, respectfully, but disrespectfully is disrespect. Don't be disrespectful. Those vile, disgusting Spartans, poor little bro them. And I'ma tell them why I'm mad. That vile, disgusting cesspool in Columbus, the other state, and of course, as always, I'm upset. It is me. Good morning, by the way. A glorious Sunday morning. It is I, the Maze Madman. Shout out to my guy, Mike Layton. Don't be a bozo. Hit that like button. Make sure you do that. As always, I'm here with my guy,
the Maniac.
And we are here to talk some Week 7 college football surprises, upsets, blowouts. All of it happened yesterday. Maniac, first of all, we didn't have you live last night. We got you a little bit on the phone at the tail end of the live. What are your thoughts immediately about what you saw yesterday?
Just in general, man, another beautiful week of college football, man. I think me and you spoke for about an hour and a half. I pretty much passed almost close to midnight. And I just it's no better regular season than college football, bar none.
That's a fact.
And yesterday showed that, man. It was just beautiful to watch, man. There's no guarantees, man. Not with NIL, not with the transfer portal. A lot of this is on even playing field. And even you mentioned it, and I'm going to try to quote you. The SEC is grossly overrated this year. Good teams, but it's not your typical SEC that you like, damn, these four teams can easily win the Natty. Not this year. They all look above average. Bama's beatable. Georgia's way beatable. And Texas is the only team, and I'm just thinking general, that looks the clear-cut number one. But that could change, man. You never know every Saturday.
Don't they get Georgia coming there next week or something like that?
Yeah, they play Georgia. They play Georgia next Saturday. So that's going to be the game of the week. And that's a game where Georgia could, again, reassert themselves as a dominant team in college to say, listen, we haven't been looking good. We lost to Bama. Texas is the best team. Don't be surprised again. Georgia pulls it off, man. It's wonderful. But let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. The number one game.
Hold on. Before we get there, we gotta let's get
all right. Oh, the Big Ten recap. Yes.
Big Week 7 recap. Number one. Most importantly, this week, this didn't happen. All right.
Yeah, absolutely.
Let's get that out the way. Michigan didn't lose in Week 7. That's a beautiful thing in itself. And then let's jump straight to this one. Minnesota comes back. They were in a dogfight with UCLA. UCLA, who probably is the worst team in the Big, in a conversation with Purdue, but we'll get to Purdue in a second. What were your thoughts on this one? Did you expect it to go the way that it did?
Yeah. And I'm going to tell you why. Because, again, just like I mentioned, any given Saturday, especially in the Big Ten, right? A lot of these teams are pretty much evenly matched up. Minnesota doesn't have a high-power offense. So, going to the West Coast, playing late, that does matter. It does play a factor. But, again, one thing that Minnesota has is a real good coach, man. And PJ Fleck, he had his boys ready. And I expect Minnesota to win a lot of games scratch and claw, similar to Michigan this year. And I wasn't shocked at all. I did expect them to win. I would have expected them to win a little more comfortably because people say what they want, but Minnesota has a top defense in college football this year. Numbers say that, right? Numbers, what they say, women lie, men lie, numbers don't.
Numbers don't.
So Minnesota, they're very, very well defensively sound and ended it 2 weeks in a row on the interception. They beat USC last week and they ended at UCLA. So good win for Minnesota. And look, man, you got to come to bring it, man. Shout to them.
Double order Ryan Day Bacon for me, please.
We
Hey,
getting there, Dom. Don't worry. We gonna
shout
get
out to
there.
Dom, man.
Beautiful.
Joseph says, I thought OSU quarterback looked good. Stupid time management, last play call, bad coaching. Joseph, absolutely. And we're going to get to that because I will say Will Howard didn't look bad at all last night. And in fact, he did look impressive, both running the ball in the pocket. Bro, he is a sturdy dude. It was a defensive end or tackle for Oregon that came around and like grabbed the shoulder, and he just like shrugged that dude off. You know what I mean? To throw a pass that was ill-advised, that could have been picked off, but still, his strength in the pocket is there. Let's move on. Before we move on, I'll give my thoughts on Minnesota. I had Brett with me last night. Shout out to Brett. He was cooking for most of the night. Burks was up here. Cam came up. Shout out to Cam. And of course, Dom stopped by last night too. In the watch party, we had a watch party, had the Pepsis, the chips. We was doing play-by-play. I was a color commentator for the Oregon-Ohio State game. It was great. But anyway, Brett is a guy, I think it was Brett, maybe it was Burks, who is high on PJ Fleck. And in fact, was like, yo, if it all doesn't work out for Sharon at Michigan, they wouldn't mind seeing PJ Fleck. I was kind of like, oh, I think that ship has sailed. When he was coming out of Western, if that had lined up then maybe that would have been a conversation. But I think his time in Minnesota has kind of devalued him, not because he's not a great coach, but because of the results you get at Minnesota. You know what I mean? It is Minnesota. He's not going to be able to necessarily recruit great at Minnesota for a plethora of reasons, but I do think he is an excellent coach, like you said. And it showed some resolve to get back in this one because they were down double digits in this game at one point. And to come back and win it shows the kind of character that his team has, and they're obviously a reflection of him. So shout out to Minnesota. Illinois survives a Purdue scare. Listen, I was checking this game out. I was watching this game for a second, but then Illinois got up some crazy, right? They went up big.
27-3. 27-3.
This game's over, right? That's what I was thinking. Only to come back, and I didn't even see the final score before I was on the live, and somebody had to tell me final score was like 40-39.
50-49.
There we go. 50-49, which is crazy. What are your thoughts on this one?
Wow. First of all, definitely was looking closely. Why? Because we play Illinois next Saturday.
Right.
You definitely wanted to take a look at how the team looks. First of all, their quarterback, man, Illinois. One thing I noticed about him that I didn't see in the previous weeks is that he could run that ball, man.
Yeah. Luke Altmaier, who you talking about?
Yeah. Altmaier, when he takes off, that dude got some wheels on him. So that's something Michigan is going to have to look out for. This team looked like they was running away with it. And the fact that Purdue, you mentioned it, that they're probably neck and neck with UCLA as the worst team in the Big Ten. And this was at Illinois. Understand if it was on the road, it happens. Illinois collapsed. They got themselves back up, won the game. This was a bad look for Illinois. It was a bad win. I mean, you always rather win. Don't get me wrong. You'll take the win every single time. But there was a lot of flaws exposed here, right? The problem is, can Michigan expose those flaws? They secondary wasn't looking good. This dude was just throwing bombs, connecting. They were shredding that Illinois defense and running the ball. But on the scheme-wise, Michigan has to scheme it well. And but regardless, man, what a game. Who would have said that, right? Illinois, Purdue, what a game. They came back again. The reason why college football is so phenomenal. And they went for 2 at the end. That's what it was. Purdue, they could have played for OT number 2. They scored a touchdown. They kicked the extra point. We're going another overtime. But the coach said, nah, man, I'm going gamble. And that's what it is, man. Gamble is a 50-50, and Illinois survives. Literally, that's the perfect word to put it. But they won, and I'm more comfortable now going into next Saturday's game.
Absolutely. Before I give my thoughts, make sure you hit that like button, share this with your friends on social media. and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. My guy Kinetic, I'm sorry, says,
Kinetic.
do you think Illinois is as dangerous as we thought they were before this weekend? I'm gonna say I do think they are as dangerous. Obviously, they got up big, they let their foot off the gas, and sometimes it's hard to step back on it. You know what I mean? Especially when a team gets momentum in that time that you were kind of, celebrating your win already.
Speaking of Phil, I'm so sorry.
No, go ahead.
Purdue got robbed, actually.
Okay.
In that last drive, he fumbled. That was a fumble, bro. Oh my, that sack, bro, he did not have control, bro.
Yeah.
They talk about, Michigan, the referees helped them win, bro. They helped Illinois win. Let's talk.
Speaking of referees trying to keep people in the game, that Ohio State game, but we'll get there. So yeah, I do think they're as dangerous. And I'm sure, getting up to play Michigan is different from getting up to play Purdue, right? Purdue is a bottom feeder in the Big Ten this season. It's crazy because just 2 seasons ago they were playing in the Big Ten championship, and now they're struggling to find wins. That said, I do think, like my guy Maniac pointed out, there are things that Michigan will be able to take advantage of when they play, or should be able to take advantage of. Let me say that. Whether or not they will is the question. So yeah, to answer that question, that's where we are with that.
D-line, Josiah Stewart should have a big game next Saturday.
Absolutely. We move on to here. Oh man, this one. My guy, let me lead off on this one. Maniac is texting me during this game. He's upset. Because Michigan just went to Washington, and we know the outcome of that one, and then for them to go to Iowa. And by the way, Kinnick, I said this last night, is a tough place to play. We're taking nothing away from that, but Iowa destroys Washington, right? Like, they shouldn't have been on the field together. That's the way Iowa treated this game, and it was worse than the final score because Washington got a late score, like a garbage time score. It was really a 40 to. They were 30 points better than Washington yesterday. All right. And Michigan, of course, lost to Washington, and I'm not a fan of the transitive property thing, but this is just 1 week ago that they beat Michigan like they beat Michigan. But Maniac, go ahead.
Yeah, like you said, the transitive property, right? You can't say they beat them this week. That's what that means. No, it doesn't work. My point, my looking at this game has nothing to do with Iowa winning the game. Mar, what up, champ? How you doing, my brother? It has nothing to do with Iowa win. It's how they won. It's how their defense was so dominant against this offense that they couldn't really do anything. And I'm looking at it as, listen, on paper, our defense is beyond more talented than what Iowa is. The scheme, again, it was the scheme. How Washington scores 27 on this defense that we have, and they missed 2 field goals. Let's be clear. So if especially the chip shot, the first one, I get it. So let's say 30 points. We let Washington almost score 30 points on our defense, and they couldn't do nothing with Iowa. And then let's also mention something else, Phil. Iowa's an anemic offense, bro. They really ain't that good. They ain't that much.
Look,
I mean, Kate is better than any.
Cade McNamara threw for 2 touchdowns, but he only had 108 yards passing. So it's
there
not
you go.
Like
you see, but
they went
this
crazy.
Is what I'm talking about, because it's just simple things, and this is what we've been crying for Michigan to do. Listen, let's just keep it simple, man. We could win a lot of games in the Big Ten. We could beat these teams. And fact that we're not doing that, we're not executing. I think right now execution is the biggest problem Michigan has in scheme. So I just hope that after this bye we get it together, man. But Iowa, bro, that was domination. And that's the Washington team we expected to see this year. That was the real Washington. When you said the real quarterback, please stand up, that was the Washington. The real Washington. We made them look better than what they are. That's the problem. That's the problem. So if I'm
called
Michigan,
that man Don Martindale.
If I'm Michigan and I'm looking at that game, I'm like, yo, bro, we that's it, man. We not playing. We gonna let the world know against Illinois what we really about. So we'll see.
Real. It also wasn't in Washington. Their stadium is a hell of an advantage. Sure, no, we giving grace for that. There's some point, let's say we give you 6 points, 7 points for playing in Washington, right? Still, I mean, 30-point difference at Kinnick. And let's say we give you 10 points for playing at Kinnick. Together, leaving Washington, playing at Kinnick, that's 17 points. They got beat by damn near 30 points. They should have gotten beat by 30 points, honestly. And Michigan, of course, went and lost to Washington. Right now, let me say, if Michigan and Iowa played on a neutral field, who is favored to win that game?
Iowa.
That's crazy.
We got to call it like it is. Shit.
Right.
Iowa has touched 40 points twice in one season. I don't think
we haven't gotten to 30 yet.
It might have been the last time Iowa scored twice in one season was probably during World War II. Who knows? Right. It's been a long time, man. It's wild.
This is a fact right here, J. Dot. Don't get me wrong. Don Brown needed to go. He needed to go, but Don Brown dominated teams he was supposed to dominate. That's without a shadow of a doubt. Yeah, whatever it took to dominate those lesser teams. OSU out recruits the whole Big Ten, get all these 5 stars, and still 1-7 against top 5. Yo, we're gonna speak on that while we get in there.
You know me, Mama. I'm always cooking OSU for this, for those same reasons. And we talking about the last 10 years alone, but we gonna get to that. Ohio State. That's a whole hour. Right
Anything's possible. Sound like KG. Anything's possible. Yeah. That's what's up. Let's get to the next one. Wisconsin put a beat down on Rutgers. What has happened to Rutgers over the last couple weeks? That was an undefeated team going into that Nebraska game. Of course, they lost that one a little more respectably than this loss. And I would say Nebraska's a better team, at least in my opinion, than Wisconsin. What do you think?
So, I was... Again, the Big Ten, nothing surprised me. I think most teams they evenly match. When you get to the Oregons and the Ohio States, they're better. But these teams, it wasn't that Rutgers lost. It was in the fashion that they lost. They got dominated at home. That was shocking because I said they was at Nebraska, only lost by a touchdown, 14-7. Over there in Nebraska, that's also a tough environment. Say what you want about Nebraska. That's still a tough place to play in. And I think coming home against a tough Wisconsin team, and we look at Wisconsin's record, man, I think it's a little deceiving. This team is a solid team. And, but Alabama blew them out. Bro, there was one play that turned the trajectory of that game, and Alabama never looked back. Yeah. They had USC on the ropes. They muff a punt, changed the trajectory of the game.
Yeah.
And now you see them when they play a clean game, what they're capable of. And that was bad. They just took it to Rutgers, man. Wisconsin is a dangerous team. Not an elite team. I think they're middle of the pack, but that's a team, if you don't get up for, you could come off that field with a loss. Good win for Wisconsin. I don't know what's happening to Rutgers. That's 2 weeks in a row. In fact, they digress from 1 week to the other. We'll see how they bounce back after losing 2 straight.
Marmar, my guy, is not on X. I'm trying to get him on there. I'm trying to talk him into getting back
on. They put me, bro. I did like 10 years in X prison, man. I was, bro, going to war with all these Buckeyes, like especially the big accounts like J Book, Mr. Ohio, Batman Ohio, whatever. They got like weird names. They weirdos. Their fan base is weirdos. That's a weird fan base.
Facts.
And they report you. They talk a lot, but they can't take it.
34 watching, 43. We up to 43 watching, 11 likes. I don't know how many
Come
likes,
on, man.
but we gotta get those likes up. Run the likes up.
Yeah,
Tap the
yeah, yeah.
screen. It costs
Come
you
on, man. We
nothing. I
cooking.
promise you. Won't cost you a penny to be a little friendly. Make
This is
sure
breakfast. This is
you hit that.
breakfast with the
Pause.
maze man and the maniac.
Wisconsin during the Alabama game lost their quarterback for the
Another
year.
thing.
That's a fact. By the way, speaking of injuries, Ohio State lost the offensive lineman, a key offensive lineman for the year. It looks like.
Yes. Man,
You
that's
never
one
like
thing.
to see
Yeah,
the injuries.
Rivalry aside, man. At the end of the day, that's one thing I don't play with. I hate Ohio State with everything, but I will never ever wish. And these are kids, man. It's never that serious. And you hate to see that, man, because these guys put in that work. And for you to go out for the year, man, is tough, man. So I hope he recovers, man, and he comes back next year stronger than ever, man. But you never want to see that, no matter which team it is.
That's a fact. Shout out to my guy Moose. Moose is in the building. It's a lot harder to win when you don't know the plays. Am I doing this right, OSU fan?
We getting there.
Yo, shout out to Moose, man. That's a fact too, though. Anyway, let's get to the next game. USC chokes a big lead versus Penn State in overtime. Another game that I was paying attention to. USC got up, I believe, 20-6.
Correct.
Point.
I have time.
20-6. USC is winning this game, and it looks like it's going to be like Penn State's going to be another victim of traveling west, or even West teams traveling east. When you cross those two time zones, I forget the record coming into this week. I believe the record was like 1-8 in the Big Ten, just in the Big Ten, for teams going across two time zones to either coast. But Penn State rebounds. James Franklin gets some fortitude from somewhere, and they pull off the win. What's your thoughts on this one?
Wow, man, another classic game yesterday. And is this DK? What up, brother? Good morning.
Go Blue.
Is this a different Penn State team? In the past, these James Franklin's team will show fight, but find a way to lose it at the end. They didn't this time. They found a way to win. And man, USC, man, their 3 losses are all like almost on the last plays of their 3 games. So
definitely.
Oh man. Damn,
wide receiver passed away from cancer. Definitely rest in peace
sad,
to him.
Man. 23
Condolences
years old,
to his family. Yeah.
God bless his soul, man, and his family, man. Prayers to them.
Hey, thank you for that, Marv. Thank you for reminding us about that, man.
Yeah, definitely. And so USC, man, they Penn State come up the second half and punched them right in the face. Man, that tight end they have 44, Penn State, man, that dude is a problem. He's a problem. And they tied it up. Then USC comes down, they score, and then Penn State at the end, they last drive, they found a way. Drew Allard. All right, he's looking like a good quarterback this year. They showing resolve, they showing fight, they showing dog, and they got the win, man, in overtime. So that was a real good, solid win for them, because it's not who they beat, is how they did it and coming back. And I think that might is a telling thing for Penn State moving forward, man. And they're gonna be tough to beat.
Yeah, Drew Allard threw for damn near 400 yards. I think he threw for like 390, something like that. Couple touchdowns. He certainly looks better than the version of himself he was the previous couple of years. And that's what they needed, by the way. And I was down now. Granted, James Franklin beat USC, who was unranked, I believe, this week, right?
Yes, unranked. 3-2. It's
still a big win. I'm not taking away from that. And when we get to this next game, because I was calling the coach of this other team Diet James Franklin, but in actuality, it might be the other guy, but we'll get to that in a second too. But this was a good game. Went into overtime, like you said. Penn State, finding a way to win that one. First to get back in it was crazy. They pulled off a trick play that was insane. And they found a way to involve this tight end. I think on one of these drives, he got like the ball 3 straight times in different ways. Wildcat. They just were finding a way to get him the ball. And
You
kudos to them for that.
what a word you use. Find a way.
Yeah.
Michigan coaching staff, you listening? Find a way to get your key players the ball. It can happen.
Absolutely. Shout out to Blue Wolverine with the dab emoji.
Yes, sir.
Penn State looked terrible early. That's a fact, too.
They did.
They cheated USC. Shout out to G, who is a member. If you're not a member, become a member.
Yes, sir.
It's very easy. Lincoln Riley is a fraud. Listen, starting to look that way. We'll get to that in a later episode. But here we go. Oregon wins a thriller over the other state. This is what we came here for. Really, there was a watch party last night. If you weren't there, you missed out. For those who were there, shout out to my guy again, Brett, Bert, Dom, Cam, everybody that was there in the comment section. It was a great time. We had a great time last night. But this was an epic game for my guy, Dan Lanning in Oregon, who, by the way, Dan Lanning is who I was calling Diet James Franklin, because before last night, Dan Lanning hadn't won a big game, if we're being honest. He had 2 chances last year against Washington. All he had to do was win one of those games, and I promise you the Ducks are in the CFP instead of Washington probably, and he couldn't do it. But last night, when I thought so I was being critical, and let me know about this, because if he did this on purpose, super diabolical and genius level. So 10 seconds left in the game. All right, Ohio State's driving. Oregon calls a timeout. And at home, I'm like, why would you do that? Because they had just stopped them. It was like a 3rd and long. Oregon calls the timeout. I'm like, why would they do that, right? Then to compound that, when they get back on the field, Oregon has 12 players on the field. So now I'm really like, hold up. You called a timeout, and then after that, you put 12 players on the field. But hold on. The plot thickens, sir, because they run that play, 4 seconds come off the clock. It's only a 5-yard penalty. So it goes from 3rd and 25 to 3rd and 20, but you also lose time if you're the other state. They lost 4 seconds. And then, of course, the very next play, Will Howard decides to be Dak Prescott and run until there's no time on the clock.
I like that reference.
Shout out to that.
That Dak Prescott was against my 49ers. So.
Yeah. If he did that on purpose, which some people are alluding to him doing that on purpose, diabolically genius. But anyway, what's your thoughts on the game?
Diabolically genius. I like that.
Yeah.
So, man, listen. Man, oh, man. Listen, this is Ohio State, my brothers, man. Mello, my brother.
Right.
Ghost, my brothers, man. I got respect for my brothers right there. All jokes.
Posh, Doreen, shout out to her too.
Yeah, Doreen, man. Those are good people, honestly. But this is war right now. Right. College football season is war. There's no rules right now. So let's get right to it. Oregon, Ohio State. Ohio State coming into this game, best win was against Iowa. Solid win. I'm not going to say Iowa's trash. Solid win, but they're very limited, especially offensively. They just couldn't hang with them. Now they play a team that's on even field with them, right? You got offensively decent. And there was times Oregon almost lost that Boise game. Right. Oregon didn't look good against Idaho. So going into this game, we knew that I ain't gonna lie, I was favoring OSU based on what I seen. But again, week by week is how you got to look at it. Oregon, first of all, they shredded that defense. So all these Ohio State fans poking their chest out about this team being so great, this team, this defense, oh my God, we amazing. Almost 500 yards in total offense. Dylan Gabriel shredding them, right? They also, again, there's nothing physical about this team. They're not a physical team, man. They're just not. They're going to have trouble with teams that could bring it to them. They're more finesse. It's more finesse than physicality for them. And it showed, man. Oregon got it done. That first drive, that should have been an interception. So I don't want to hear nothing about no reps. That was an interception by Oregon. They got that. They scored a touchdown. But again, I don't want to just be straight Oregon. Ohio State, again, offensively, they're a juggernaut, right? Will Howard, although he'd get the Bonehead of the Week award, right? They still played a good game. He's the reason they was in that game, right? He's the reason, without a doubt. So shout to Oregon. You made my Sunday. You also exposed a lot of that team. They can't really stop the run. They're not a good run-stopping team. They secondary is Trey Burke.
Yeah.
Trey
Hey,
Burke. Yo, right now he's a Dollar Tree player right now, man. Get that dude out of here.
Man, look, Trey Burke, that was bad.
Yeah.
It was a bad look for him for sure. Apparently, my man gave up. Let me give you the numbers real quick. Trey Burke gave up 200 yards, and 2 touchdowns last night. If you were following the live, I was saying Trey Burke, his draft stock is dropping by the completion, and it was different people too. It wasn't like the same dude was cooking them. Everybody was cooking them. Everybody had a chance on the hibachi, and they were destroying Trey Burke.
Listen, they treated him like a Diddy party. How about
that? Yo, no Diddy. But
they treated him like a Diddy party. They passed him around.
My man was out. They passed Trey Burke around. That's no joke. Unfortunately for him, you gotta watch yourself. Protect your neck out here. And he was not doing a good job of that. That's for damn sure. But let me give you my thoughts on it. So I will say this: I had a parlay. I had like a 6-leg parlay. And if I won that parlay, I would have won like $1,200, something like that. And the only leg of the parlay that I lost was this one, because and it's the only time, and I should have known. I never bet on the other state to win. And I bet on them to win because I was like, yo, this is, I thought they were going to pull that off. This is my bad. All right. I didn't deserve that $1,200, and I should have known better. Number one. Number two, I'm not upset that I didn't win that $1,200 because this was much more gratifying, much more satisfying. This is better than anything money can buy. They went up there with their head, held high, chins high, snobby the other state fans just the way they are every week, thinking that nobody can beat them, when in reality they can be touched. And Oregon went out and proved just that. I was tweeting last night because it was too good not to, right? Like, I could not let this opportunity pass without tweeting some of my guys that are fans of that vile, disgusting cesspool in Columbus. But this one, there was a live look-in of Trey Burke. I don't know if you saw it after that last pass he gave up. And I just wanted to share this with the people, the live look-in of Trey Burke. Here we go. This is Trey Burke. Today, he can be found on breakfast tables across the country. Everybody, and I do mean everybody, was serving my man up. Nasty work from Trey Burke. I don't know what he was doing.
Yeah, Denzel.
I'm Denzel Burke. You're right. How dare I disrespect Trey Burke?
Yeah.
Denzel Burke. Denzel Burke was out there looking crazy.
So let's dive into the game a little more deeply, right? Also, it wasn't a clean game from Oregon. The extra point, I get to watch that. A C note, please. Bet on OSU. They love it. Okay. They missed the extra point.
Yeah.
They missed the field goal. They went for it on the 1 yard line on 4th and goal and had the receiver open in the corner. Dylan just missed them. So it wasn't a clean game. Like, because I know Ohio, Oregon, we didn't play our best game and they played a straight clean game. Nah, bro. That wasn't the case. So that also tells you that even with a team fumbling, not literally, but just messing up here and there, they were still able to beat a team like Ohio State. I've mentioned it. Ohio State is a team. Damn, that toes look like.
Yeah.
Yo, Mama, you a mess.
Yeah. I'm on X. Same thing. Maze Madman on X, or the app formerly known as Twitter.
Listen, when I said it, when Ohio State plays a team that can match their physicality, we're gonna see who they are. And we saw that. Now, don't get me wrong. Will Howard is playing better than I expected. I'm gonna be honest. Like he's playing well. He's not really making horrible mistakes, with the exception of the last play last night. But he's running the offense crisp. They were moving the ball. And I'm also happy that they called that penalty on Jeremiah Smith, because that dude, listen, and that was a blatant push off. Good call, because I seen people on Instagram, the referees. Well, I said, no, stop it. He pushed them, because you saw in the Iowa game, beautiful touchdown catch, that one hand. But how you holding the defensive player with one hand? Literally, you're holding him, and that's not offensive pass interference. So, yeah, good. Now, and hopefully now moving forward, the referees are looking at that. Like, oh, no, bleep, bleep, flag. They both, listen, Ohio State, luckily for them, they're in the Big Ten. So they're not going to really play many offenses that are explosive as Oregon. But I'm telling you, once they get into the college football playoff, because they are, these other teams, they got offenses. They're going to cook them. They're going to cook that defense. It's nothing.
Yeah.
Mama, yeah, I'm going to figure it out, champ. I'm going to definitely get back in there. I was heavy on them Twitter streets and them times, man. Ohio, and mind you, this is when us Michigan fans really had nothing to talk about, man. But I was going at it. Every Rip Star is the greatest. Woo!
No doubt about it. Rip Star is the greatest.
I'm the best there is. Woo! 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 Woo!
Shout out to Rip Star.
Right, Rip Star. Yes. So let me ask you this. With the exception of Trey Burke, we know he is a liability on that defense. What else did you saw in that?
Denzel Burke.
Trey
Burke is a legend at Michigan.
Man. Damn.
Right. I got you saying Trey Burke. Yeah. So Oregon was able to run on that defense. Did you? Right. They were getting chunk plays on the ground. They were able to run on that defense. Igbinosun is a penalty walking. He mugged a couple. Now, all of these didn't get called, but Igbinosun he does everything possible for the person not to catch the ball, which is admirable on one end, but illegal on another end. So I saw some things that I think Michigan or anybody could take, not anybody, but teams can take advantage of, that include being able to run on them, being able to take advantage of Denzel Burke, and, that secondary. How many times did you hear Caleb Downs' name last night?
Like once. He did a good
play
during that stop on the goal line. I think on second down, he deflected, but not really.
Yeah, he was like an invisible man last night. So
this guy did better. Ransom.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think there are things that teams could be taken advantage. By the way, we were advanced scouting last night too. We got a text from my guy Connor Stallions, so we were live at the watch party, also doing some advanced scouting for Michigan. There may or may not have been a person wearing a Michigan jersey at the 50-yard line in Autzen. We cannot confirm nor deny if that is the case. But there were some things I think teams could take advantage of with this Ohio State team. They kind of held that, the run game had a couple of explosives. I think Henderson really had a couple of explosives, but outside of that, it was really Will Howard.
Yeah, we just botching names this morning.
I know, and the pass game for Ohio State that really, kept them in it, if we're being honest. And of course the referees. I think Dom brought up the fact that he thought Ohio State brought their own referees to the game.
And complained.
Yeah.
There's not, look, you have, so definitely also saw that.
Dope. I'm going to follow you back, my guy.
I also saw that in coverage, their linebackers are also liabilities. They're not good in coverage, their linebackers. So I'm not gonna lie, at least Ransom, I like his aggression.
Yeah.
Right. He's definitely this year, he's he's coming up. He's laying that wood. And listen,
my guy Toast. What up, though?
Let's toast. Let's toast. You should have saw the toast earlier of Denzel Burke, his picture from yesterday. But we're gonna look. You gotta. I'm just looking at it, right? But you also gonna have to have a good defense. And one thing Oregon did yesterday was they tackled well in space.
Right.
Ohio State threw those, them quick little dumps to Buka, some to Jeremiah Smith, and those Oregon DBs are small, and they were coming up and tackling. That's going to be important for any team against them because they're explosive. You miss one tackle, those receivers is off to the races. So and right now, that's probably Michigan's biggest issues is tackling in space, right? But that's still a month away. A lot is gonna happen before then.
Under the Gizzo.
Gizzo, absolutely, man. That Ohio State's defense is not gonna be it's not an intimidating defense. Their D ends, we spoke about them, Sawyer and JT. These guys are not game changers like Ohio State had in the past with Chase Young and the Boza brothers. These guys don't worry defenses. They solid. They got good D tackles, but Oregon was shredding them, man. Dylan Gabriel, man, he missed some throws too, man. It's there. Look, their defense is nothing to brag about. I'm gonna tell you, once they play a team like Texas, man, oh man, they putting up 30 plus against Ohio State. I'm telling you, even Bama playing the way they playing, I think Milroe will have a feast on their defense.
Yeah. Real quick, G said, was that quarterback paying tribute to Pete Rose? R.I.P. to Pete. With that slide, Charlie Hustle would have went head first though. But that. Well, I think my guy Garrison. Shout out to Garrison, who is a Buckeye fan, of course.
Yeah. Shout to Garrison.
He was on Twitter like, he's not mad at Will, and I get it. Will did play a decent game outside of the slide, but at the same time, how can't you gotta blame him for that slide? He's the quarterback. He has to be aware of the time on the clock, all of these things, and for him to, let the time run out on a play that got him maybe 10, 12 yards is not a good look for
so
the quarterback.
We're halfway in, and Cal McCall already had more wins leading in. His only loss was to Michigan, and they crucified him, and
destroyed
it's his
that man.
poor, and it's his poor. And listen, I've said it to start. Will Howard, he's a good quarterback, right? He's benefiting from like 5 future first round picks on that offense, right?
Right.
So, but I think the mental part, I think that's where, if I'm an Ohio State fan, I'm worried about. That
Yes.
showed. And as you get deeper and the games get more important in the playoffs, I see him being the reason they lose. I could see an interception on the drive where either Tatai will take the lead and him throwing a costly pick. I'm just telling you. Yes, he's more versatile. He could run the ball. Don't get me wrong. His legs, when he runs, he's like you say, he's a big target, man. He's not a little dude. He could run your ass over. You know, he's about 6'3", 6'4". He like 230. Like this guy's solid
big
muscle.
dude,
but I don't see God punish you for bad.
Yeah, nah, this is real, Joseph. He definitely did, but he also rewarded me because to watch them lose was priceless.
And it brings more importantly, right? It brings these Ohio State fans back to reality. It's like, you see, calm down. They saw that domination early. They were getting full of themselves, making fun of Michigan, you know, making memes out of us, joking. I'm like, okay, go ahead. Now, look, mind you, that's the only fan base that was talking like they won 3 natties in a row, like they coming off 3 straight natties. Again, this would have been their best win since Clemson if they would have won last night. And they didn't win. So we're back to 2020, OSU fans, since you won a big game. 2020.
Well, their last good win was over like a 13th ranked Penn State team, right? And that was 2021. Where JT, by the way, JT Tulimoluau, however you say his name, has his entire scholastic career has been defined by that game, bro.
Yeah.
That dude had, and it was a great game. I'm taking nothing away from it. It was a heck of a game. However, that has defined him in college football. Everybody thinks of him as that game, and he is not that, at least on a consistent basis. And he hasn't really gotten close to that since that game. A game that they needed him to do that in because they were going to lose if he didn't step up in the way that he stepped up. But yeah, at this point, Ryan Day is 1-7 versus top 5 teams, 0-3 versus the SEC, like 2-4 in bowl games. This dude is the actual Diet James Franklin. It's no longer Dan Lanning. Dan Lanning just beat the real Diet James Franklin, and that is Ryan Day. He's 0-3 over the last 3 years against Michigan, 1-3, all time. This dude is not who, he's cracked up to be, right? Who they placed him on the pedestal to be. He's not that. He beat everybody in the Big Ten, not named Michigan, right? And that's fair. But now you got to include Oregon. He's 0-2 against Oregon now. Yeah. This dude is Will the real Diet James Franklin please stand up?
We got to definitely talk about that, right? So Ryan Day as a coach.
Timu James Franklin.
Timu. He's not, listen, man, Ryan Day, to me, I said it, him and Lincoln Riley.
Right.
Him and Lincoln Riley, when they took over, Lincoln Riley took over a stacked Oklahoma team. This guy, Bob Stoops, gave him the keys to the Ferrari. Urban Meyer gave Ryan Day the keys to the Ferrari.
Right.
Right? Same thing. At least the only thing Ryan Day, at least to his credit, has one playoff win. Lincoln Riley, he has 0. He's like 0-3, 0-4 in the playoffs. So these guys, you're starting to see, and when he went to USC, so now on his own, let's see him build the program if he's really that. You see, it's just they're a mid program. And same thing with Ryan Day. I'm telling you, let Ryan Day go to one of these other teams where he got to kind of almost build from scratch. Bro, he's gonna turn whatever program into Massachusetts. So,
hey, yeah.
so like you said, Kmart A&M.
Bro, that's a fact. They're gonna be Ryan Steakhouse University, Old Country Buffet State.
The the golden corral kangaroos, man.
Right. It's that bad. Shout out to J Dot who says Ryan Day is Saban against the MAC. That's a fact. Dominates the MAC conference.
Yeah, look, we know this, man. Let's Ohio State at the end of the day is still a good squad.
Anybody can get it, Ripstar.
Yeah. Everybody. They still a good team. Don't get me wrong. You know, they're very talented, and they just better than most of the teams in the Big Ten. So, you know, they get a bye. They get a bye next week. So they'll be off, which comes, I guess, in a good time for them, off for loss. Then they come home to Nebraska.
Right.
Now, again, I think Nebraska is just a little too green right now to compete with a team like Ohio State. But on
Ponderosa Community College, right? That's who he beats. These are the type of teams he beats.
Exactly. And I think Riola, you know, he'll have some success, but you know, to go into Columbus as a true freshman, I don't think Nebraska is going to really be too competitive. But then after that, they go to Penn State. And that's going to be another game that's going to be telling. It's going to be Penn State can match their physicality. And if Drew Allard could play like he did yesterday for a full 4 quarters, there's no doubt in my mind Penn State could beat Ohio State.
Okay. So I'm with you, except for the actual James Franklin coaches Penn State.
Yo, it might be a new year. Man, it might be. Look, I'm looking. Normally, that USC game, he blows it. He finds a way to blow it. Maybe he's due. Listen, he's due for a win, bro. How long he's been in the Big Ten? As long as Jim Harbaugh, right?
Yeah, I
he
feel
got
like,
8. He got at least 8.
Yeah,
bro, he's due.
Shout out to Dom. This is what $20 million buys you. Apparently,
there you go. And that's another thing. $20 million. I think it's more north of 30 million, if you ask me. But you gotta bring it in, bro. They just, it's something about Ryan Day that doesn't.
$20 million groove.
Yeah, MM in the Oracle and Crowd Run $10 million team is still soft. That's more than 10 big groove. But hey, listen, it's always wonderful to see them lose.
Definitely hit that like button though.
Yes, I can't wait to see the excuses, right? And it's beautiful. And also, we had some good games in the SEC. My man, Lane Kiffin.
Lane Kiffin.
Kiffin.
Yeah. He snatched defeat from the jaws of victory like only Lane Kiffin can do.
Bro.
By the way, we got to talk about the SEC, man, because
yes.
They are not as good as the claims are, right? I will say, I thought Alabama looked like the best team in the world after that Georgia win. Now, especially in the first half of that Georgia game. First half of the Georgia game, they look like an unstoppable freight train, right? Second half, Georgia gets back in there, and I probably should have paid closer attention to that because it wasn't a fluke that Georgia got back into that game. In fact, if there was 5 more minutes left on the clock, Georgia probably wins that game, but that's neither here nor there. They promptly go out the next week and get dominated by Vanderbilt. And everybody knows Vanderbilt is not a great team, although Vanderbilt did follow up the domination of Alabama with a win this week over Kentucky. But, you know, Kentucky's not a world beater either. Georgia was looking kind of shaky ever since that first win. They dominated Clemson, and they've looked kind of shaky since then. The only team that is really out in front and seems to be dominating everybody in the SEC is Texas. But they're going to get tests coming up here soon because Georgia travels to Austin to take on Texas. That game will go a long way in deciding the SEC, in my opinion. By the way, I was only half joking on week 0 when I said Texas A&M is going to be in the SEC championship game, and it looks like that could definitely happen at this point. They still got the Alabama test. I think they still have LSU too. But yeah, I think that's how it's going to shake out in the SEC. And I don't think there's anything to fear from that conference outside of Texas right now.
Absolutely, absolutely. Every team in the SEC right now, and look, even though Texas is looking like the clear
That's a
cut
fact, Toast.
number one team, they can still get it. It can happen on any given week.
This is a good
Ah,
point, Mar. Look, that 14 playoff, Michigan winning the last version of the 14 playoff. And I agree with you. That probably was the end of an era as we know it, not just for the 14 playoff, but for actual college football being, what it was intended to be.
mhm. Yeah, and you know what? We knew that, right? Um, the expansion comes more from money. It's a greed. Unfortunately, America here, it's just a greedy. The corporates, they're like, bro, we can make a killing. Let's put 12. Okay, I don't think it's more like, well, the fans want 12. Let's give them what they want. No, absolutely not.
Hey, yo, this
So
sound like a commercial right
commercial,
here. For
J Dot
20
for 20.
million, you too can be 5-1. Shout out to J Dot for this, man. That's a gem.
That is a gem. That was a good one. Oh man, you too could be 5-1 here in
Right.
Columbus.
We're selling 5-1 to anybody for $20 million. It's like beachfront property in Iowa.
They need to get
It's great.
cooked. But back to the SEC.
Yeah.
And and shout to my man Mello, because we also got a chat with him.
Yeah.
And he mentioned, I think he came on the show actually last week, and he was showing us love, and he mentioned about the SEC and like the media, and I agree with him on that. And normally you have it's justified sometimes because I mean look at the numbers. If we're looking at like the last 20 years, how many natties has the SEC won, right? Over 10. Over 10.
Right.
So they've been dominating, but it's always been top heavy. They make it seem like the Vanderbilt could go into the Big Ten and just beat Ohio State and Michigan.
Right.
Like, bro, stop it. Stop
Yeah.
it. Y'all have a lot of bottom feeders in that conference as well. But nonetheless, they've been winning. When they were good, they were dominant because they just, that line of scrimmage, man, they just had animals at that defensive line and offensive line. But now it's even kill, man. You can't tell me that you match up Oregon against any of those teams right now that you could
Right.
say, oh, they have no chance. No, they have a chance to beat every single one of those teams. So the 12 team playoff is going to be very interesting this year because we're going to see, because especially now for Ohio State, you really don't want to lose that Penn State game.
Yeah.
Because now you might have to go on the road, or if you win the conference, you automatically get a bye.
Yeah. So here's the thing. Oregon did Michigan a favor, but it's Michigan, and this is what I was telling people last night on Twitter who were like, "Oh, y'all lost 2 games, y'all out of the CFP picture." Michigan is far from out of the CFP picture, especially if they can do the unthinkable and run the table. Now, granted, that is a lot to ask from this Michigan team that we've seen here this season, right? Over the first 6 games, that is a near impossibility. But they have a bye. They have a quarterback that they believe in. The quarterback that apparently they always wanted to be the quarterback, at least the offensive coordinator and head coach. And so if they can, get something going here, and it starts with Illinois, by the way, and the way they look against Illinois, if they can get something going, beat Illinois, come take care of poor little bro them, then beat Indiana, who looks like a decent team this year too. Oregon, I'm sorry. Yep. Oregon comes first to the Big House, which is the only saving grace there is that they have to come to the Big House. If they pull off that Oregon win, now we're really talking about something because Oregon, with the win over the other state, has put them in a position now where they need to win, right? And it doesn't even necessarily have to be Penn State. And in fact, if they beat Penn State, then it becomes a real gem, like a gridlock at the top, and Michigan would need to take care of business on the 30th. And if they do that, and I'm talking November 30th, if they do that, then Michigan has everything that it started the season wanting. They back in a position to play for the Big Ten championship, and make the college football playoff.
Let's
Now,
take a look at
tough
Oregon's
ask, but
schedule.
it can happen.
I want to see what Oregon's schedule is looking like moving forward. All right, so Oregon is at Purdue, right?
Right.
Oregon's at Purdue
That's a
Friday.
win.
This coming Friday, that should be a win.
That's a win.
Right? Then Illinois goes to Oregon. Then, of course, Oregon comes to the Big House. Maryland goes to Oregon, and then they're at Wisconsin, and then they end it with Washington at home. So, realistically, I think the only games there's two. Illinois, listen, based on what we see, even though Illinois got to go to Eugene, I'm expecting Oregon to win. But you know how it is from week to week. Michigan and at Wisconsin, because that's November 16th at Wisconsin. Expect it to be very cold. And I'm telling you, this Wisconsin team is good. They're tough. That could be another dangerous game. Michigan and Wisconsin, I think they're the most realistically teams they could beat Oregon, because they got to travel to these places in November, where in those part of the countries at that time, it could snow, it could be rainy. Not saying in Oregon the weather's the most beautiful, but to be on that side of the country during that time could be tough. And based on the offense Oregon runs, right? They are like a running gun, RPO, like sling it, and they got a lot of track stars. Right. Once the weather gets bad, it slows everything down.
Those hamstrings start to tighten.
You start to play, and then the physicality, like Wisconsin and Michigan is going to be a team, win, lose, or draw. They're going to punch you in the mouth for 4 quarters.
Hey, yo.
Dom,
Hey, yo.
Listen, I was having, I forgot to tell you this, man. Me and my man, that Michigan fan, which I only got like 3 of them, right? Yeah. I'm like, but what about? I didn't mention the OSU game, but I said, what about in the key game? We killed Davis Warren. Jack Tuttle gets hurt, or Orgy, whoever, because we don't know who's going to be the quarterback, down the line. And Warren comes in and wins us the game. I said, bro, we building him a statue. Yeah. That's it. Depending if it's Ohio State, he drives, he comes in relief, drives down the field against Ohio State, beats them in Columbus this year. He's getting a statue. I don't care. Right next to Charles Woodson.
Yo. Shout out to that. Hey, look, man, we rocked out. Thank y'all for rocking out with us over this last hour. Enjoy your Sunday. Enjoy professional football if that's what you do. We will be back Monday, Eminem Monday, to talk more about what we saw this weekend and obviously give a preview for the week to come. Till next time. By the way, before we do that, the Maniac, that was let's talk boxing really quick.
Yes.
Other Better Beef got the decision.
Yeah. Majority
over Dimitri Bivol.
Correct.
Apparently it was very controversial. You are a boxing analyst. What did you see?
So, man, I had, bro, after the fight, I was like 3 hours straight just cooking on videos, on lives and everything. But look, boxing, unfortunately, is a sport where sometimes the judges don't apply by the rules they're supposed to, right? A fight is supposed to, supposed to be judged on 4 criteria: defense, clear punching, effective aggressiveness, and ring generalship, right?
Right.
So based on those 4, every round, whoever implemented those the most wins the round, unless they just knock down the fighter. But some judges some judges will go with the fighter that they feel was the most aggressive, just aggressive, whether it was effective aggressiveness, whether he was landing quality punches, arm punches, they go with that. So I think that the judge was pretty much That's where he had his mindset. One judge had it a draw, one had it 115, 113. That's 7 rounds to 5. Now, I think Bevo, for the most part, outboxed Better Beeve.
Yeah.
Right. He was in
but
there.
that was always going to be the case, right?
Yes, he's
he's
a more skilled fighter than
Yeah.
what Better Beeve. Even though Better Beeve's skill set is underrated, the dude
Right.
could box. He's more than just a powerful puncher. But I think where Bevo really lost the fight was the last 3 rounds. And in boxing, the 11th and 12th round, they are called the championship rounds. The most important rounds of the fight. So if you're not closing the show, these are the things that happen. We've seen it with Felix Trinidad against Oscar De La Hoya when he went on retreat mode. People still
that man got on his bike and was but I thought he dominated the first 7-8 rounds of that fight.
Yeah.
And here's the thing, mathematically, and this is what I hate about boxing sometimes, because guys who because of the judges, ultimately, right, a judge can decide, you want, by the way, Manny Pacquiao was cheated out of a fight, in my opinion, against Timothy Bradley that way.
First fight,
exactly, yeah. So the thing is, with the De La Hoya Trinidad fight, I thought Oscar won like the first 7 or 8 rounds of that fight, and mathematically, you can't beat him unless you knock him down a few times or knock him out, right? But somehow, they gave that fight to Felix. Now, granted, Felix was the aggressor. He landed clean punches, especially the second half of that fight. But if you just go by the math, he couldn't have won unless you say he won some of those other rounds, which obviously they did. But yeah,
you're right. So, and that's it's just like, imagine. All right, perfect example: Michigan against Minnesota. Hagler beat Sugar Ray. Yeah, he did. Michigan, Minnesota. You saw how Minnesota dominated that fourth quarter, but what Michigan did early on, they still won the game.
Right.
If that was a boxing match, Minnesota gets the win. They reward Minnesota with that win.
Absolutely. Got a boxing question here.
Man, who's your pound for pound best fighter of all time? And again, in the past 20 years. Wow, great question, Kinetic, man. You talking about all time. It's a biased pick, and he's not, obviously this fighter is not the best pound for pound, but just me, Mike Tyson. Okay. And the reason why I say Mike Tyson, no, he wasn't the greatest heavyweight, far from it, but his tenacity, his approach was something that I cling to. In fact, he made me a fan. Mind you, I'm a Puerto Rican from New York City, from the Bronx to be exact, where there's like 1 million of us here. And, and you would think, Trinidad's his favorite fighter of all time, right. Miguel Cotto. No, it's Mike Tyson. So to answer that question, I'm going to go Mike Tyson, Kinetic, and Andre Ward. He was one of my favorites, G. That's my man, SOG, man. He's from the Bay Area. And I met SOG a couple of times. Good dude. We chopped it up. Yeah. And the last 20 years, based on results, you got to go Mayweather, right? Because, listen, it's just what it is. But a lot of people like Pacquiao as well. And even though Mayweather did beat him, you still got to consider Mayweather the last 20 years, just based on what he was able to accomplish. I get it. He started to be one of those fighters where
he was picking.
He was boring, but he became more of a boxer. Because if people follow Floyd Mayweather's career closely, he had 2 careers. He had Pretty Boy Floyd, then he had Money May. When he was Pretty Boy Floyd, he was giving everybody NyQuil. Go to sleep here. Beep. Go to. But when he became Money, he had brittle hands. So now he has to resort more into boxing and using his IQ, just like Jordan. When Jordan just couldn't dunk on you and get to the lane at will, he's gonna stay. He's gonna post you up.
Well-rounded game. Rounded game.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. So that's why Mayweather resulted in 2. And a lot of people didn't like that. I get it, because you want to be entertained. But boxing at the same time is a sport where it's hit and not get hit. I had Bevo, very close fight, but one judge. Absolutely, Andre. I agree with you. I slightly had Bevo winning, but I can see why better Bev won. But that was, as the new word, that was diabolical. 116, 112. I did not agree with them. My favorite is Mike Tyson. Yeah, man. Listen, Mike is a dog, man.
Hey,
And,
yo, Rip Star, cut it out.
yo, Rip, come on, man. You the GOAT, man. We can't be saying
Cut
stuff.
it out, bro.
But listen, man, that's like you say, that's here nor there, man. I love, yeah, Terrence Crawford is actually my number one fighter right now, Mar, as the pound for pound list. I mean, it's a subjective list. You know, you ask 10 people will give you different top 10, but I think it's between Crawford and Usyk as, you know, the best fighters. I give you Tyson, but I feel his fights with people. Yeah, I mean, kinetic, that's it. Listen, don't get me started. Don't get me started with the Mayweather cherry
Blue
pick.
Wolverine brought out Jack Dempsey.
Shit. That's back then. But yeah, you know, a lot of people going to say Sugar Ray Robinson, Muhammad Ali, and those are great picks. Bud Crawford, Tank Davis, Rant fan over here. Yeah, those are great fighters, Big Groove. Bud, Tank, Tio, man, these guys that are explosive fighters, they bring it every time out, man. So, you know, good picks.
Hey, y'all gotta chill, bro.
Yeah. Love the more. Oh, man. Hitman Hearns, man. One of the greatest.
Motor City Cobra. Yeah,
man. He was an animal, man. Shout to my man, Tommy Hitman, another guy I met.
So, by the way, like, I think, you know, what's my man, Sugar Ray Robinson, right? Isn't that discussion for all time?
Absolutely.
I think I'm gonna throw a name out here that a lot of people might remember, a smaller guy, but Chavez. I think he won like his first like 100 fights, something 100 something fights, or 80 something fights,
89 and 0. He was 89.
Yeah. Before he lost his first fight,
he suffered his first defeat.
Yeah, and he probably fought too long too. But yeah, that's a crazy. He was out there giving people the business. He did get I forget this dude. Is it Pryor who he fought?
No, he fought Meldrick Taylor.
There we go. Who he got he knocked him down round, and they called that the knockout.
Richard Steele waved it off.
That's kind of crazy. Yeah,
that was bad. And my man Sweet Pete, rest in peace, Pernell Whitaker put a clinic. He put a clinic. He's from VA, Virginia.
Yeah, from Norfolk. And Sweet Pea was cold, bro. Sweet Pea is a guy who I thought he beat Oscar, if I'm being fair.
Yeah. It's still to this day, you know, it gets thrown out there in boxing chats.
Yeah. He just was you know, he didn't ingratiate himself to the referees and shit like that. Like, people hated that dude. But he was definitely a very skilled boxer, and he couldn't knock nobody out. He didn't have real knockout power.
Correct.
It was accumulation of punches with him, for real.
Yeah, just a pure boxer and a defensive genius too, man.
Yeah.
He was hard to hit.
And not even in the Mayweather sense of defense. It was all movement. He was very good. Very good.
Yes.
I can't forget about my guy who before he started getting knocked out was definitely in the GOAT conversation, and that was Roy Jones. Roy Jones Jr. was special.
He was,
and then he just started getting knocked out. And
he was probably the most talented fighter, right? When we talk about, you know, talent, like just pure athletic ability, man, that dude was just amazing to watch, right? And he had flaws. Keyshawn Davis. Well, yeah, so, you know, he's at 135. He's from Virginia as well. Keyshawn. He's fighting coming soon. Him and his three brothers. We were thinking about going up there, but I think we might end up going to the Boots fight November 9th. Well, going. Well, I don't know. The team is already, they going. They just asking me. I don't know, because I think that day we play Indiana. So if I do go, I might have to do it from the arena, the post.
Whatever, man. But we're gonna get you out of here on this.
Yeah.
We're gonna end the show on this. My guy Shakur Stevenson, right? And we've talked about this, but I know it's a pretty popular debate right now. Shakur Stevenson versus. By the way, did they give Devin Haney the 0 back?
Yeah.
Okay, Devin Haney undefeated again, although
Blah, blah,
he clearly
blah.
got his ass beat. But Shakur Stevenson versus Tank Davis. Who you got and why?
Oh man, I've had this conversation about 1,000 times, man. Again, this is a fight of cat and mouse. You have the pure boxer and Shakur Stevenson, very, very defensively sound, very smart fighter. But Tank Davis, where people overlook, right? They see he's 30-0, 28 knockouts. So, oh, he's just a knockout. No, Tank Davis could do it all. I like to use a reference, the two belt reference, right? You can't build a table with just a hammer, right? You're gonna need more tools on your two belt. So Tank has everything on his two belt. He has the pliers, he has the measuring tape, he has the nails, he has everything, the drill gun, he has everything on that two belt. Shakur, on the other hand, doesn't have everything on that. And you got to favor the more well-rounded fighter in this case. And the fact that at any given second, Tank could put your lights out. But in history, and we kind of saw it yesterday, when you have the boxer versus the puncher, the boxer normally wins in these cases. I want to say 8 out of 10 times. So Shakur will have a phenomenal chance. The question is, can he create that space between him and Tank Davis? Because if Tank invades that space, it's done. And Tank also puts that mental pressure on Madman. He's there. Yo, Rip Star, listen. Ryan Day versus James Franklin. Who wins, Rip Star?
Hey, yo.
Yeah.
Army Navy undefeated.
Yes.
Shout out to Joseph for this. We didn't talk about this, but that is a fact. Army dominated somebody yesterday. UAB.
I said how Army is not ranked is atrocious, bro.
Yeah.
They don't
I want those teams to be undefeated when they play each other at the end of the season. That'd be great.
Yeah. So yeah, man. So just to answer the question, man, right now I have to go with Tank.
Yeah.
I go with Tank, and I think it'll be a boring fight because I don't think Shakur is gonna take enough risk, man. And it might be similar to yesterday, where maybe people feeling, yo, Shakur's outboxing Tank, but Tank is the aggressor the whole fight, and that's what the judges favored, and he gets the nod. But we'll see.
Yeah, they can beat Notre Dame.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's nothing.
Yeah.
Shout out to that. All right, man. We're gonna get out of here. Till next time, follow my guy the_boxing_maniac. All his information, by the way, is in the description of this. Follow the YouTube, all of that. Follow me everywhere at Maze Madman. Until next time.